Hello. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this very special episode of the Driven podcast. We're recording in front of a live audience at the Everything Electric Show in Melbourne. And we will be recording this one and releasing it on our usual podcast platforms sometime next week. For those who are not familiar with the Driven, we are and use our website for everything EV or EVs. So do check us out if you are not already familiar. This session, or this episode, is going to be focusing on vehicle-to-grid, V2G, which has been a particularly popular topic from our readers, for sure, on our website, and I think sort of industry-wide, really. So it felt like a really good topic to discuss. It's technology which allows you to do something which your petrol car will never be able to do, which is be useful when it's parked. So I think it's something that is worth exploring further, and we've got a great panel to do so. We've got Robert Llewellyn, who I don't think I need to introduce to anyone, from Everything Electric, but I will anyway. And we've got Tim Barston from Strategic Partnerships from Amber Electric. And we've got Chow Lee from Origin Energy, General Manager of E-Mobility. And next to me, we've got Jane Butler, General Manager of Electrification and Innovation from AGL. So we've got 30 minutes, which is all less time than I'm used to for these podcasts, and we've got a lot more guests than usual, so we'll try and make sure we cover as much as we can during that time. But I think maybe what I wanted to start with was to, ask for each of you where you think we're at with vehicle-to-grid, in Australia at least. So, Jane, where are you at with vehicle-to-grid in Australia?
Sure. So, hi, everyone. So AGL is at the stage of trialling, vehicle-to-grid, as is a lot of other people, on this stage. But that doesn't mean that the technology doesn't work. The technology works. We know that. What we're doing in Australia as an industry at the moment is trying to make it easy. So we've partnered with all of the networks across the country, a number of car makers and a number of charger makers, because the next step really is about no matter which car you buy, no matter where you live and what home setup you have, we want to be able to enable this technology. We're not quite there yet, but really the next 12 months are a really exciting space for us as we roll this out. And probably the year after that, I reckon we'll start to get easy. I think that's where we're at.
Okay, yeah. Ciao.
Hi, everyone. Like Jane said, vehicle-to-grid is here in Australia, definitely. And it's all about now working with industry and working with the EV drivers to figure out how to make the most value out of being able to extract the power from the battery and feed that back into the grid. I mean, from an energy retailer's perspective, this is utopia, because not only are you now investing in an asset that gets you from A to B, but you are investing in an energy asset that can actually earn you money while it's not being driven around. So it's really great for the energy system because it helps absorb all of the excess renewable in the system. And it's great for drivers because you can earn money and cover the cost of the electricity as well as the car. So what Origin is doing at the moment is trying to, like AGL, make it simple for EV drivers by actually bundling the cost of the car, the cost of charging the car with electricity, the cost of the bi-directional charger that enables vehicle-to-grid into one bundle. So you don't need to think about how much does the car cost, how much does the charger cost, how much does it cost me to charge the car, how much will I get back by selling the energy back to the grid. We're bundling all of that up for as little as $800 a month post-tax. You can have the car, you can have the charger, and free electricity all in one bundle.
Sounds like one big, beautiful bill. Tim.
Oh, I was really happy until you said that.
Sorry.
I thought it sounded to make suddenly it sounds less attractive, but it isn't. It's just him.
I agree. We're at the very much at the start. Amber's been doing V2G in a pilot phase with some older technology chargers and the Nissan Leaf for a couple of years now with just a handful of customers. So we're getting there. We started installs of newer technology chargers in the last couple of weeks on our arena trial. It's true. We're all trying to simplify an incredibly complex product. The tech isn't that complex, but the different configurations within each home that we're trying to solve for are numerous. So, the solar systems that we want to be compatible with, the home batteries that we need to consider when making smart decisions for a customer, and how that interaction works with car, charger, customers' preferences, earning opportunities, etc. So it's a whole number of things, which is why I'm here, I'm the partnerships guy. So we try and coordinate all of that to give the customer the best outcome. That's the complex bit, and simplifying it all at the same time.
Okay, so that's a bit of groundwork there to do. I mean, Robert, where does Australia sit in relation to, well, I guess, compared to other markets like in the UK in regards to V2G?
I mean, I think it sounds like you're very, very close, if not closer than we are. I mean, it's certainly a thing that's a big topic in the UK, there's no question. The take that I've sort of understood, particularly this year, is a lot of the challenges, as you say, the technology works. We know that the technology works. That's not the problem. In the UK, a lot of it is legislative. It's actually to do with the way the grid was built in the UK in the immediate post-war period is when most of the grid that we rely on today was built. So, it's a 1950s technology that was designed to take electricity from a big coal plant on the coast into a city, and there's a substation, then it goes to your little substation, then it comes to your house. And that's how our grid is built. And what we're asking our grid to do, saying, we've changed our mind. We want to have thousands of little generators all over the place, sending electricity all over the place. And so I think there is a technological challenge for the grid as a whole, certainly for what we in the UK call the DNOs, the district network operators, people who actually bring the electricity to your house. So not the national grid, that the next step down from there, are under a lot of challenges. We have saturated a lot of the capacity they have for solar already. They don't know what to do with the electricity going different ways in their wires. They've never really dealt with it before. So there's that. It feels like that's some grit in the gears. But there's such enormous enthusiasm and pressure to utilise the technology, because it's painfully obvious that it makes an electric car, which is already a better technology, an obvious solution, because you can use it when you're not using it. And I think that is the critical point.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, for those thinking about getting a battery, if you wanted to get a Tesla Powerwall, for example, and you drive an EV, you might already have 6 in your garage, potentially. So using that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
If we can get there. So so there sounds like there's some trials happening. There's some trials happening in
UK, yeah, with Octopus and BYD, yes.
Yeah, and they're doing, I think, one of the first trials where customers are required to plug in for a particular amount of time.
Yeah.
And that's currently not that's not a prerequisite for the trials happening here in Australia, as far as I understand. So for Australia, what's next now? I'm opening this to anyone who wants to answer, but where do we go from here? What's next on the list? We're doing trials. How many more trials do we need? Is it working? Do people like it? Is it psychological? I mean, there's obviously a technical perspective, but what's next? What do we do now?
Well, we started. We've put in a couple of chargers under the first 50, and it's going well. We don't have a minimum plug-in time. We incentivize customers to plug in because they're the ones that can earn money from any grid event that they're supporting to help keep the lights on. Customers are also incentivized to plug in because you can only do vehicle to home if you're plugged in. And so in our calculations, about half the value of V2G is actually vehicle to home. So charging from your solar if you have it, or when it's cheap from the grid, and then covering your usage of an evening when the sun isn't shining. So that's about half for our customers, and then half of that is 10 or so really high price events in the year where you are paid handsomely for supporting the grid and helping the decarbonisation of that grid. But in terms of like when's it coming, we hope to have a commercial offer in market next year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for the consumer, it's all around building trust and insight into charging and discharging behavior, and understanding the value that the EV driver can create by enrolling into vehicle to grid program, and then it's about simplifying that. So understanding how often and how long do drivers plug in, and how much access can the energy system can have to all of these batteries on wheels, as we say. But also understanding, what are the driving requirements of the EV drivers, because these are not just batteries, they're cars. So making sure that there is trust with the EV drivers, that yes, you are selling energy to the grid, but you have sufficient charge to get you from one place to another. And then it's also about understanding the impact on the battery by enrolling these cars into the grid. So working with OEMs, understanding what are the right discharging patterns and behaviours, what are the impacts on the car, what are the charging behaviours and discharging behaviours of EV drivers, and then making that simple. So, for Origin, in the next 12 months, it's all around simplifying that process for the EV driver. Like, don't worry about thinking about how much money you're going to make, how much money it's going to cost you, what's the impact on your battery. Origin will, own all of the cars that we subscribe out to drivers on our program. So we are wearing all of that risk for the drivers, to make sure that you understand how it works without any of that risk, with complete flexibility.
Yeah. Similar for AGO?
No, so we're taking a slightly different approach at AGL, looking at a bit of an ecosystem approach to make sure that in future this technology can work for all cars in all locations and with all home setups. And there's a bit of nuance, in that. And a big barrier we're finding is that there isn't standardised warranty provisions yet with the car makers for vehicle to grid. So with AGL's vehicle to grid trial, we've partnered with BYD, Kia, Hyundai and Zeekr. So they're the 4 car makers that are part of our trial so far, where the 100 customers that will be part of the AGL trial that have any of those 4 brand cars that are eligible will have the warranty provisions covered as part of the trial. And we're talking to other car makers as well, and we're really hoping that the car makers can get on board with this technology, and the sort of trials that are happening at the moment in the Australian market will give them comfort to offer this to all their customers in the future, because there really is aligned incentives here for car makers. If we can prove that the vehicle to grid doesn't impact the battery or the warranty, then it's a huge selling point for those people who are looking at taking up the technology. And even being here at Everything Electric today, so many customers that we're talking to are out there talking to all the car makers, and one of the big questions they're asking is, does your car do V2G, right? So it can be a huge selling point. So really navigating that vehicle warranty piece, is a key piece. And then the other part of the ecosystem, is the networks, like I mentioned. So we're partnering with 8 different networks across Australia. That's the poles and wires businesses that deliver the power to your house. And at the moment, to be honest, they have 8 different approaches to allowing you to connect. So really getting some national consistency in that to make it easy is also something that we're really trying to push forward as an industry, as part of these trials.
Robert, I mean, you're the consumer advocate on the stage, I suppose, or the representative of the people. The battery warranty thing and the impact of, using your car battery to plug into grid into your home. I mean, I think that's a fair part of the worry that people might have and plug it in. And certainly, when I first thought about it, I thought, I don't know about the impact. But these batteries that are in these cars, I mean, they're torpedoing these one-ton vehicles from 0 to 60 in about 3-4 seconds. So what kind of power is required from these cars to charge an air conditioner or to
Yeah, I mean,
Is it as big as we might think?
it's much less. So if you think of, it's an 11 kilowatt connection, which is, for a house quite substantial. For a car, if you were to, I would love to do it. I've never done it, but to measure what would happen if you press your right foot and it tells you how many kilowatts it's using from the battery. When you get to 11 kilowatts, I bet you might just be moving. It's really, really little pressure on the battery from the point of view of what it's built to do and what its daily job is when you're driving it. So, because you're talking about 250, 280 kilowatts going out of the battery to power the motor when you're accelerating hard. On a regular car, on a powerful car, it's 500 kilowatts, or even more. So, 11 kilowatts, between 7 and 11 kilowatts is a really gentle. It's a dribble. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a clean and polite way of expressing it, but it's not a lot.
Yes.
It's a little bit. It's a little dribble, not a torrent.
So it would be fair to say that the barrier there in terms of battery use and warranty could be more psychological than technical?
Yeah, I mean, the two companies I've spoken to at length about this, and I'm anything but a battery expert, so as soon as they started talking $1 million above my pay grade, I said, I don't know what you're talking about. But at the lower level, they think there is more evidence of it being beneficial to longer battery life than it being detrimental. So CATL, as the most recent company I've spoken to, are very keen on the vehicles that they produce batteries for being used for vehicle to grid because it improves battery health
So
to have a little bit of in and out.
Far from diminishing it, it
could actually make the battery last longer.
We should be asking for extended warranties.
Yeah, or you don't worry about the warranty. I think don't worry about it. And I mean, we genuinely don't, I think it's fair to say we genuinely don't know now what it is, but it seems to be all the evidence and all the experimentation they've done, and they're now talking about, CATL in particular, talking about 90-year batteries. So they're producing batteries now that they think will last 90 years, so way beyond the life of any car. And I said, what does that even mean? And they said, we don't know yet. So it's very honest of them. But, so I mean, I think that you have to remember that the battery chemistry is developing so rapidly that things like the perfectly legitimate worries, I would absolutely understand it. I don't want to wear my battery out constantly charging it and discharging it all night to the grid. I think it's just not going to happen. I think if you were discharging at 250 kilowatts, I reckon that could be more problematic. But that's not what we're talking about here in a home setting.
So from another customer perspective, I guess a question for the retailers. We say we've got, how many cars we've got on the road, I don't know. But say we've got 2 million.
410,000.
Oh, that's far off from my guess. I wish you had said that before I'd put my guess in. Timmy, 410,000 cars on the road?
410 per, yeah.
Cars on the road.
EVs.
On the road. I was thinking, no. EVs, that makes more sense. Okay, yes. Got a lot more cars on the road. But say you've got 400,000 now for more grid assets for the grid. That sounds good. But for the customer, so what's in it? What's in it for us? How much money can we make? What's in it? What can we get for this? For using our vehicle as a grid asset?
Well, it depends on the offer, I suppose. Different offers will suit different people. Origin's going the subscription model, which will suit some. Ours is more bring your own device model, as is with our battery offer. So our early modelling suggests that with a average size car of 50 kilowatt hours and a 7.5 kilowatt charger, you can make up to $3,000 a year in savings or earnings. And as I said before, half of that is eliminating a $1,500 a year electricity bill. Now this assumes you have a small solar system of 6 kilowatts, and therefore you're charging for nothing and discharging when into the home or into the grid. So half in self-consumption savings, like you would get from a home battery, and half can be made if you're plugging in at times when the grid needs it, which is 10 or so times a year, usually in peak summer or peak winter when there's a lot of demand for heating and cooling, the sun goes down, the wind hasn't picked up, and the wholesale energy prices like the stock market, I suppose, or governed by the rules of supply and demand. So less supply, more demand, high price.
Yep.
Yeah, like Tim said, I think it really depends on people's charging behavior, driving behavior, and when the car is available to feed that power back to the grid. Because if you've got solar, you're charging at zero cost. When you're discharging it, are you discharging it at periods when there are high energy prices, when there are constraints on the grid, or are you just discharging it at, normal times? That will really drive the economics to the EV drivers. So like Tim said, what we've done in our trial is actually take all of that math away from people, because who here knows how much their energy tariff is, and who here knows when there is a peak demand on the grid or on the energy system. So what we've done is we've covered the cost of the car, so like a brand new BYD, the cost of the bi-directional charger, so the Star Charge Halo fully installed, the cost of all electricity that's to be used to charge the car for $800 a month. You say it's a big bill, but if you think about the car, the charger, and all electricity, it's quite a good deal. And you don't need to think about actually, it's a sunny day, I need to plug in. I think there's going to be a high price in the energy system, I should discharge. We cover all of that for the customer.
I did say beautiful bill. Big, beautiful bill. It wasn't just big.
I also want to add to that, because I think it's a brilliant idea, and I think it's a genius offer. But I also think that there's quite a large percentage of the audience here today know exactly when the sun's shining, what challenge their batteries are, how much is in the car, how much they can use. But I think this is an unusual audience. I think for the general public who've not maybe if their first electric car is a BYD on your service, is genius, because it takes away all those fears. And there's my neighbours where I live in a little village. If I said to them, "Do you want vehicle to grid?" they go, "What are you talking about now, you funny old man?" They wouldn't know what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah.
It's very well understood in the environment we're in here, but I think less so generally speaking. But it's becoming a topic, definitely.
I think I think we're so spoiled here today because we're amongst friends, right? We're we are the early adopter cohort, right? But if we get into the mass adoption curve, where we need to get to for EV uptake to meet, where Australia needs to get to, the mass market is not going to be sitting there going, I need to plug in my car at this hour, I need to discharge this hour. So it's more about making it simple for people who don't have time to understand energy.
Yeah, just building on that, absolutely. It's about simplicity. So we've found the most popular product that AGL has been our EV Night Saver plan. So it's just a simple overnight rate between midnight and 6 a.m, charge your car for 8 cents kilowatt hour. And the selling point is you can fill up your car for about $5. And compared to a tank of petrol, if someone's thinking about swapping to an EV, it's quite easy. To explain V2G, you then say, okay, if you don't have solar and you can't fill up for free, you can fill up overnight and cheap for 8 cents. If you wanted to plug that car in and then and charge your house, you're then saving, say, 25, 35 cents, whatever your normal rate would be. So it's pretty easy to sort of see the type of savings that you can get. And if you are plugged in at the peak times, then you could even earn, over that evening peak, additional bill credits. So it really is around reducing bills. So we've got about 40,000 customers on our EV Night Saver plan, and they're really highly engaged and love it. So hello to anyone out there who's one of our EV Night Saver customers. We recently ran a survey about V2G, and we had over 1,000 respondents. And overwhelmingly, everyone is saying, I just want to reduce my bills. And that's really the main driver, that we're seeing with V2G.
Yeah, I think that I saw something about it was only a couple of years ago there was only about 10% of the driving population that was really aware of what V2G was, and now that's well above 50-60%. A lot higher for those who are driving EVs. So it feels like the interest certainly is there. We're certainly seeing it from a publication perspective. But yes, it is about that. What are the barriers? The cost of the cables is still quite expensive. I think of the bidirectional cables, it could be one barrier. Maybe as a consumer, I don't know what you think, Rowan, but if I just bought an EV and then a retailer says we want to use that energy, I'm thinking, well, What else do you want? What do you see as the biggest barrier as a consumer?
I mean, the only one that I understand is the cost of the unit that you might put on the wall would be, I have 2 chargers. I've got a Zappi one, there is one here, which is, a bit more expensive and a bit more complex. But on the other side, it's called a dumb socket. You plug things into it and it sends electricity out, which is really cheap. And that was, to have a box that's capable of bidirectional use, I think is more expensive. And I mean, I guess there's ways you can mitigate that as an energy company, and that's really what's happening now. But I mean, certainly in the past, I have an old CHAdeMO 50 kilowatt hour vehicle to home unit in my house. It cost thousands of pounds back in the day. I've used it twice because we filmed it. That's why they put it in. So we filmed it with a Nissan Leaf. It only worked with a Nissan Leaf. And also, it could send out 50 kilowatts into my house, which needed 7. So
I mean, it sounds like from already with the offers we had just in this early phase in Australia for V2G is you can certainly save money through some of these links that certainly Origin and AGO are offering. And it sounds like for Amazon you can also make money if you want to, be a bit more invested in what's happening on the grid and when it works. I think if you have some sort of smart meter or something or AI thing happening on your app, aren't you? So
yes, we'll figure out how much energy. Well, you tell us how much charge you need in the morning, and we will go forth and make you money with what we can to still give you that 70% at 8 a.m. that you need.
Yeah,
I think education is going to be a big part of this. I think that the cheap overnight plans are great in driving adoption of EVs because they make it simple and they make it easy for a customer. Just charge between these windows. But if we want these assets to be assets to the grid, not grid assets, then they need to be charging at what is now the cheapest time, which is daytime. And that way we're absorbing the solar that is a problem to networks, etc., driving more demand for renewable energy when it's being produced by all of your solar systems, which is where most of the renewables come from. And that, we're seeing that there's going to be 3 hours of free power offered mandatory, and it's going to be in the middle of the day, as some offers in market already have. So that is the cheapest time. It is the fastest way to 100% renewables to use that energy. And there's going to be learning that we're going to have to take customers on to educate them about that. Now, I plug in once or twice a week when I'm home during the day. And even if I didn't have solar, that would be the cheapest time for me, and it will be for everyone, in a year when that 3 hours of free power comes in. And you want it plugged in when it's going to cover your power load. So the only thing you're really going to need to learn is if you get home, plug it in. That's it. The AI will do the rest.
Yeah.
Sounds fairly simple as it is. I would like to take the opportunity to actually throw that open. You've got a couple of questions from the floor. If anyone has any questions, I think you might have someone with the mic you will roam around. We're running out of time, but it'd be good to get a couple of questions.
Hello, just the 3 energy companies.
Or just a bit closer to you.
Oh, sorry.
That's good.
With the 3 energy companies, during the trials, are you doing battery health checks pre and post trial just to prove to all the car companies that we're not actually causing air degradation?
Yes, we are. And it sounds like Jan and I are having a lot of similar conversations with auto manufacturers around warranty. Those that make their own battery are a little more comfortable. Those that purchase it from, the likes of Cattle or others are a little more wary. Hence BYD is, to their credit, coming forward and warranting all of our participants' cars. But we will demonstrate that there is negligible impact, if any, to the health of the battery. Yes, there'll be additional cycling, but cycling is what makes a battery pay for itself. As I tell everyone with a solar battery, if it's not cycling, it's not working for you. So heat and time are the biggest degraders of batteries. It was made to cycle. That's its purpose in life. And it can cycle to get you to work in the morning, or it can cycle to eliminate your 40-cent electricity bill in the evening, or it could pay you, $10, $15, $20 a kilowatt hour when you're supporting the grid. So, up to you how you cycle it, but that's what it was made for. So don't be afraid of a little bit more degradation. There's more kilometres than you'll ever need in.
No, I'm not afraid. I think it's all the car companies that are afraid. So yeah, I'm really keen to prove to them, give us the warranty so we can go V2G.
That's what we'll aim to do as part of our trial.
Cool.
Got another question somewhere?
Thank you for an interesting discussion. How do I know that there's going to be enough charge in my car when I want to drive out suddenly?
Well, Robert, you want to?
I mean, I would say it's going to be an automated system. It's going to be, if you say, I generally need to be able to drive 40k, 50k in the morning when I wake up, then it will absolutely have 100k there. So you've got a bit of a buffer. I think it's not going to.
I think he means suddenly if, he cuts his hand and he's go to hospital and how's he going to insure? So we'll enable you to set minimum thresholds so that you can get to the hospital in such a scenario.
Hopefully that's not the only reason.
Hopefully.
To leave the house on time.
But I mean, I think the thing is that it's important to remember that particularly in a vehicle-to-grid situation, and we've got 1.5 million electric vehicles now on the road in the UK. If, say, 500,000 of them were plugged in and you took a kilowatt hour out of each car, so about 6k, 5k range out of each of those cars, you've got enough power to almost run the country for an hour. So you're not taking 20 kilowatt hours. You're taking a little bit out of each car. And I think the more cars we have, the smaller the amount possibly of individual, the individual amount of kilowatt hours from batteries will become, because the collective whole will be so enormous that, and so then you can set the car. Look, I always want 70%. So I'll sell or trade the top 30%, but I want 70%, and then occasionally and then presumably all these systems, they're going to have an app or a button on the car which goes, leave me alone, I'm charging full.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing. So it's really up to customers to set the preference of how much they want to leave in reserve, and always have the ability to override. I would comment, though, that most EVs would power a typical home for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So, if you've got it plugged in and you're using it to power your house for a few hours, you've still got plenty in the tank. So it's, it's a huge asset.
So it's not going to be like the Australian gas market where we've got gas coming out of areas that sometimes we're short on gas. The consumers still have control over, how much power you've got in your vehicle. I mean, maybe Origin could do like a special sort of paramedic service for people who can't discharge in time to get to hospital, as they'd be part of the bundle. I don't know. I'm thinking outside the box here. But,
we're quite lucky in that we run both charging energy and cars. So if you need a car quickly, we've got cars that can cover you. But like all of the panelists have said, even if you set your minimum down to 30% battery, that's going to give you 150 kilometers. Yeah. Unless you're driving, to Brisbane, 150 kilometers is pretty good for an emergency trip.
Yeah, unless you've got a 2011 Nissan Leaf, glorious vehicle. I've still got that. 20% of that'll get you to the end of your drive.
It's kind of like a plane. It'll just sort of glide for a few hundred kilometers with no charge.
There's a good, strong following wind. You can go anywhere. Yeah.
I think we might have time for one more question, and then I think that'll be it.
Thanks, everyone. Great discussion. Absolutely loved it. But of the 400,000 vehicles that we've got EVs on the road, do we know what kind of proportion are capable of V2G? I mean, I've got a 3-year-old EV6.
Most of them.
Is it capable or not?
Most of them are with DC, yeah. The DC charger talks directly to the battery terminals and you can extract it. The problem we face is getting all the auto manufacturers to be comfortable in warranting it and how they're going to do that. And they are talking to all of us about how to make that so. So that's one of the last barriers. But most of the cars can do it unless it's been intentionally software locked by the manufacturer while they figure that out.
Are you saying that most of the cars currently on the road have that, or the new ones available for sale? Because is that what you're talking about? The ones on the road?
Yes.
Yeah. Both. I mean, most of the cars on the road into the last year or so have been Teslas and BYDs, yes, and they're mostly capable. And most of the cars on offer here are likely to be capable. We're just ironing out the warranty.
And I suppose that being a big demand from consumers, it'll be more and more and more models, right? Yeah.
There's a lot of demand. We've got 5,000 people on our wait list for V2G, and that's a pretty strong signal to the people here who want to sell cars.
Any final thoughts? Robert, where do you see V2G in 5 years?
I think I'm just always, whenever I'm here, I'm always jealous, and that is partly because of the impact of solar in Australia, And when I've compared my solar output from my unit at home with friends who have identical numbers of panels and identical inverters, and they just make a lot more electricity than I can, and it's not fair, so I hate you all.
Thank you for that touching send-off. Pretty appreciate it. It's nice to have you here. We'd like to thank our panelists today for joining us on stage. And thank you for being here listening to this live episode of the Dribble Podcast. We'll see you, maybe next time. Thanks.